Hello. So I wanted to take a chance to check in, just kind of like I do each week, and talk about what you're working through right now in week 5, and then what will open up tomorrow, week 6. For the week. So right now you are working through what probably seems like a fairly lengthy module. This module talks about this issue around trade. A lot of you have maybe seen the fair trade label and kind of wondered, like, what does that actually mean? And fair trade ties in really well with this idea of workers' rights. So this semester, we decided to get rid of the textbooks that we were requiring students to buy for this class. But within that textbook, there was a chapter that I really loved. And that is something that you are reading right now, is that chapter 11, which really does give you kind of this all-encompassing view of this idea of trade, fair trade, and workers' rights. So within that, you'll have some materials to read. There's also some really great TED Talks that I have embedded within this learning module that talk about especially workers' rights and this idea that this issue still very much exists, definitely from a global perspective, but we also see workers' rights right here within the United States. So it's really good to be exposed to really a breadth of information that expands as close as Idaho, but also stretches across the entire globe. So there's a lot of really great information out there. There's a quiz that you'll complete around the workers' rights issues. You have your discussion board questions that you'll contribute. Remember that you are required to make an initial post, and then part of your points also come from responding to your peers. So you want to make sure that you are responding to at least 3 of your peers to earn full credit. I also want to remind you that you do have your current events out there for the week. Yesterday, when I was watching the news, it was kind of one of those like, oh my gosh, 3 stories back to back to back were all related to food recalls. So some of you did your current event on the recall on berries, and a lot of you are like, how does hepatitis A get into frozen berries? And I did leave some feedback for some of you that had used that as your current event. And I'll just tell all of you that the way that happens is berries are really one of those things that, when we're talking about fair trade and workers' rights, do require people to harvest. We're actually seeing some technology out there where there are some robots that can go out and harvest berries, and they're making them delicate enough to be able to pick the berries without damaging them. But berries are one of those things that do require a physical person right now to actually go out and harvest. And so what you're finding when you see a recall related to hepatitis A is someone was out harvesting those berries, not necessarily using sanitary practices when they were harvesting, and had hepatitis A, and failed to wash their hands after using the restroom. It's spread primarily fecally. And so the reality is somebody picked those berries, and in the process of them harvesting those berries to that state where they were frozen in a bag for you to buy at the grocery store, that matter was not removed enough. And so it is transferred that way, which, if you think about it, is kind of gross. So I saw a recall for berries. I saw a recall for some frozen burritos, and I think that one was because there was metal shavings in it. I'm trying to remember if that was the metal one. And then there was a recall for ragu pasta sauce, and that one I think had rocks in it, and I might have those switched. Maybe it was the burritos that had rocks in them, and it was the ragu pasta sauce that had metal shavings in it. Either way, there was 3 food recalls back to back to back on the news yesterday, and I was like, holy moly. If that doesn't make you want to just grow your own food, I don't know what does. So I was grateful that I don't buy any of those products, but it definitely gives you a moment to sit back and take pause. And again, reiterating that there is so much in the news around food and Food recalls is just a very, very small component of that. A lot of you contributed some really great other things that are happening in the news, especially related to some of you talked about what's going on with the dairy industry right now, and the abuse allegations that are happening with the dairy right out your back door, and how that makes you feel. Some of you buy that milk, and so some of you wrote about that in your food label assignment, and so that was really great to see. So yeah, there's a whole lot that goes on in the news, so you shouldn't be having any problems finding information. So moving into week 6 is where we talk about organic farming. So organic farming has been around for a really long time. So Rodale started an organic farming and gardening magazine in the 1940s, and really started this conversation around organic farming. And the grassroots effort behind it really was to look at sustainable practices within agriculture. So using less pesticides, less herbicides, and really soil revitalization. So how do you replenish soil health? So we talk a lot about nitrogen levels in soil, phosphorus levels in soil, and there's a lot of really great research and ways for us to go back in and rejuvenate the soil in a way that is more natural, if you will. So a lot of us will use no-till techniques. A lot of us will use cover cropping techniques. So we'll plant specific crops that we know will put those nutrients back in the soil. A lot of us practice crop rotation, so we never plant the same thing in our garden spaces year after year after year. We try to rotate our crops because there are certain crops that draw out those nutrients from the soil, and then there's certain crops that we can plant after that to put those nutrients back into the soil. So there's a lot of really great information out there about organic farming, but organic farming has made a shift. So over time, we've seen organic farming move from really this grassroots, very small type agriculture farm to what I would now coin as industrial organic. And really you've seen marketing latch onto that. You've seen food companies latch onto it. They know that they can charge more for their product if it has that organic label on it. So the very first thing that I introduce you in within this module is an organic farmer, and really just the ethics around why he does what he does. So I think he does a really good job of just talking about why he is an organic farmer. And then you move into some articles around organic farming. Is it worth the cost? Is it worth the shift to do all of these things? And there's actually a lot of research out there right now that says that organic farming is could be worse for the environment in terms of climate change and those kinds of things. So it is, again, I'm presenting you with both sides of this issue and then really trying to help inform you when you go to the grocery store. Is it worth me to buy a product that has the organic label on it? And as you learned in the food labeling week, the organic label varies. So there are 3 different USDA seals that you can see on your food when you go to the grocery store. So there's the 100%, there's the 95%, and then there's basically the less than 95%, which is like 75-ish up to like 94% organic. So it can be deceptive for a consumer when you're at the grocery store because you're not really sure, like, should I buy this product? Is it actually organic? Or is it a variable or a variance of organic? So after you've viewed all of this information around organic farming, you will have your discussion board. So you will be contributing to that again this week. And then again, you'll need to find another current event for the week. So I hope you're starting to recognize that there is a system here. It's repetitive. So it's a topic, all of the information embedded within your learning module, a quiz, a discussion board. Remember, when you post your discussion board, you need to respond to at least 3 of your peers, and then a current event. So you're hopefully catching on that that is the system. You've kind of learned how much time to allocate to get through the material. to be able to contribute to that. The last thing that I just want to say is we do have a garden on campus. So I work on our campus garden. I wrote a grant a couple of years ago to get the funding to be able to plant the garden, put together all of the irrigation, and the garden's in full swing right now. So the weather is beautiful. We just harvested some radishes yesterday in the campus garden, and it's all for students. So if you are interested in helping with the campus garden, or when harvest time comes around, coming out and harvesting fresh fruits and vegetables, we would love to have you. When harvest time comes around, I actually get a group of us and we all harvest the food and we bring it into the academic building at the main campus in Nampa, and we give all of the produce to students. So it's a really great thing for students. They say that 40 to 50% of college students experience food insecurity, and I think it's really important that students have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's at no cost to you. And it's a great way for you to get out and connect with the soil, with the plants that we're growing, and seeing these things grow from a seed to a full-blown plant where you can actually harvest tomatoes and cucumbers and cantaloupe and corn. We're growing all kinds of really great stuff out there. So if you would love to be involved with that, please send me an email and we can connect and coordinate some times for you to come out and help. I would love the help. So with that, I hope that you're doing well. I was grading your week 4 material and recognizing that we are now a quarter of the way through the semester. So we're getting closer to the halfway point, which is crazy. Like I said, summer semester moves fast and furious. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions, but hopefully you're at a point now where you're rocking and rolling for this semester. So have a fantastic week, and I will see you all next